Unapologetic Podcast. I'm your host, Veronica Cisneros. Today's episode will be focused on the secret to increasing the flow of cash in your life and business organically. Women want to live a fulfilling lifestyle where they can travel more, provide for their families with abundance, and thrive in their careers without burnout. Today's guest, Shamina Taylor, knows firsthand what it's like to start over from scratch after going through a divorce and facing financial hardship. Shamina rebuilt her life and discovered how to unlock the power of money in her life and business. With 20 years of experience as an attorney owning her own firm, Shamina left her career to follow her soul's calling. Within just 1 year, she scaled her online business to $1 million in cash, earning more in 1 month than she ever did in a year as an attorney. Now she helps women remove the hustle and shift into ease while scaling their businesses into money making machines. You may have seen her on TV segments about wealth where she educates others on how to create massive financial overflow. Ladies, grab a pen and paper because it's about to go down. In this episode, you will learn how to tap into the energy of wealth and remove hustle mode from your life. We all need that, the secrets to scaling your business organically into a money making machine, and the emotional mindset shifts necessary to live a life of abundance. So, Shamina, hey girl, I'm so excited to have you.
I'm so excited to be here. I love your energy. This is awesome.
Girl, it's about to go down.
It
It's about
is.
to go
It really
down.
is. Your audience's mind's going to go
Yep.
blown from this
Yep.
episode. So, I know you're all multitasking while you're listening to Veronica. So maybe you should just slow down, grab a book, and or a journal and listen to what's going to go down today. Because she's right.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have a lot of value from this.
Hell yeah. So I literally felt like we were besties the first time we met. And I have been dying for this episode. So, can you start by sharing what inspired you to leave your career as an attorney and start over completely? Because I'm going to tell you right now, that's scary as shit.
It really was. And for those of you that are listening, just keep an open mind what I'm sharing with you, because some things you might hear, you'll go, huh, what?
Yeah.
Just remember, I was just like you, hardcore attorney, maybe you weren't an attorney, but working in that, corporate world and having
Yeah.
my firm. And then I had this moment. I used to be a bodybuilder, and I had this moment where a girlfriend of mine was running a yoga class, and I'd done yoga maybe 3 times, but we were going to be on TV. So I wanted to be on TV. So I said, sure, I'll show up to the yoga class. Anyways, at the yoga class, we were told to, set our mats up and whatnot. So I put my mat down, or she had my mat down, and I put the phone beside it, and we started the class. Well, 15 minutes into the class, I was getting super annoyed with her because she had us doing like 100 dog down, up, down, or whatever. I
Yeah.
felt
I
like
ain't got time for that shit.
I was like, me too. I was like, I know you're showing off for the camera. Can you just stop already? I was so annoyed. And I kept looking at my phone going, I have 45 more minutes of this shit. Like, what am I going to do? I was like, oh my gosh. But this moment, let me tell you about, changed my entire life. And maybe some of you have had this pivotal moment where you couldn't unsee what you just saw. So as we're going through it, she's asking everybody, are you happy? And as she's saying that, she's saying, put one leg one way, put another leg this way. And I'm obedient, I'm coachable. I will do exactly what you tell me to do because I want to win at everything, especially yoga. So when I did it, unfortunately, it was the hardest thing I'd ever done. I was holding on to this little quirky thing that they give you in class, those little square things for life, to just try and put myself into this position. All I could think about was, I'm going to make this position work. And as she's talking, she's like, are you happy? And I'm like, I am not happy right now, but I am going to make this work. And as I did it, I started feeling this like physical pain come over my body. Like, and I am someone who ignores physical pain. I just push through it
Yeah.
because I'm conditioned to do that. And as I was feeling this physical pain, I pushed through, I started crying. And then all of a sudden, that physical pain turned to emotional pain as she started saying, are you happy? And in that moment, I was like, I don't know who Shamina is anymore. I have everything you told me I was supposed to have. I got got married. I have the firm. I have 2 beautiful kids. I have a perfect body. I go to the Caribbean in the wintertime. I go to Europe in the summer. I have all the material things. And yet in that moment, it was just this feeling of loss and a void that I couldn't even explain, but it was so big that it just had me wailing and having the ugliest cry I possibly could even have on this mat. And I just sat there in this pose for the rest of the remainder of this class. And as I lifted my head up at the end of the class, I had snot everywhere, but I had this awakening in a moment where I'm like, I can't go back to the way things were. I had I had realized that I didn't understand what happiness really was. Like something was deeply missing inside of me. So this took me on a journey. I realized that I had been in survival mode for actually my entire life, pretty much. I had trauma growing up. I had a father that was quite abusive, and it taught me how to really be a go getter and high achiever. Most high performing and high achieving women, we have a history of, I'm not saying physical abuse, but being not good enough, feeling unworthy. And I'll
Yeah.
talk about that in a minute and
Mhm.
later on in this episode. But that unworthiness is what drives us to feel worthy and to feel validated and to seek love and all
Yep.
the different things that we're searching for. And I came home from that yoga class, and a couple of days later, I talked to my husband, and I asked him if he was happy, and he wasn't. I wasn't. And a month later, we'd gone to a therapist, and they decided it was good for him to move out. And I was actually relieved. I was like so tired of how he'd shoot his carrots. Like everything was, I was walking on
Yeah.
eggshells in this marriage. And he moved out and he never moved home again. And then that was the beginning of my spiritual journey. I had an awakening and I started seeing life from a completely different perspective. I started realizing that all the achievements that I had, they never made me feel full. I was always seeking what was next, because it was never enough. And high achievers always are aspiring for their next level
Yeah.
for achievement. But it was like, it didn't fill me. Like I couldn't celebrate it. I couldn't even stop to enjoy it. It was like, what was next?
Yeah.
So as I went on this journey, I slowed down. I heard this calling coming to me. You're supposed to do something else. And let me tell you, being a lawyer, we are evidence based. And when you're
Mhm.
getting
Yeah.
something so woo coming to you saying there's something else you're supposed to do, but you don't know what it is yet, but here, follow this faith. I had to find that faith in me to listen
Yeah.
to that huge pivot, because to leave a profession that was highly recognized. And anyway, I started going on a very deep spiritual journey, and I started healing. And once I started going through the process of healing some of this un this trauma that was deep inside of me that really made me a high performer, it made me kind of the ice queen. I never was a woman who was allowed to feel my emotions because it wasn't safe, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
So that had me going into developing more awareness about who I was. And so I started learning about consciousness and energy. And I
Mhm.
realized the more that I healed, the more awakened I became and the more conscious I became. And then as the years progressed, I'm like, wow, I can do this with money. And then so I started applying it to money. And then now that's why I teach about wealth consciousness, because I understand you. I understand why we're driven the way we are. I understand why we're control freaks. I understand all the things of what make us who we are, but I also
Mhm.
understand there's another way. And
Yeah.
we don't have to work so hard to have the success anymore. We actually get to have it all. We don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. We get to do what we want to do. And I want other women to see this way, because making $1 million is really easy. And making $1 million
Yeah.
working a quarter of the time is easier.
Yes. I love that you pointed those out. Many women feel stuck in hustle mode, believing they have to do more to succeed. How did you remove yourself from this mindset, and what advice can you offer to our listeners?
Oh, this is a programming and a patterning, right? To be
Yeah.
in hustle. I love to be productive. It is my favorite thing. I do believe how we do one thing is how we do everything. And being a workout freak, I was always in the gym and moving my body. But I found that always doing was a very masculine trait, to always be on and doing, doing, doing. But that's how I got things done, was to take action. What I
Yeah.
really had to do, which is actually seems counterintuitive to productivity, was I had to learn how to be. And I had to be in the stillness. I had to learn how to really quiet myself down to hear what I actually was coming through me. So this is where meditation came into my life. And this is why many people, when they start meditating, they're like, it's so hard, because it is hard, because
That is.
to be still
Been
with
in that cycle.
yourself and to
Hmm.
hear your thoughts and not be worrying about your to-do list, but to be in your own self, it is hard, because being busy is actually a trauma response for many people.
Yes.
Having a busy schedule and always on the go is so we don't have to be in the stillness. But I found the stillness is where the millions actually came out of. And that was really embracing my feminine energy and understanding what that truly meant. So I learned to unhustle myself. I'm still highly productive, highly productive. I get a lot done, but I do it with that feminine energy first. I get into the state of the beingness. There's a saying called, and I didn't come up with it, be, do, have. And a lot of us high performing women, we're doing the do, have, be. Like once I
Mm-hmm.
do something, I'll have the success, and then I'll achieve something, then I'll be successful. Where
Yeah.
when I lost everything, I had to start rewiring myself to believe I was a wealthy woman at that moment in time. So I didn't have the money around me to tell me I was successful. I didn't have the proof of the business working. I had to sit there every day, wake up because as my wealthy version self, which requires so much more faith because when you're a logical person, you're looking for evidence. And I was very logical, looking for evidence of, is this working? And one of the things
Yep.
that most of my clients come to me is like, well, how, when? I need evidence, that but these things are also the things that were counterintuitive to massive success in quantum leaping, because if we put a cap on everything, then we slow down what's possible for us. So moving back to how do we get out of hustle? It's learning to take down our guard. A lot of us have a barrier around our hearts, and it's really hard for us to connect to our emotions. And I really had to do emotional work, and this is what I teach in my world. But I also found, and this is something Neville Goddard teaches, is feeling it is the secret. And when I understood that my emotions were really the forefront of creating whatever reality that I wanted to, I had to understand that I needed to be a master of it, and I was far from a master of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so the being energy is slowing down, taking a breath, listening in, finding ways to bring those practices into your life, not having a totally booked out schedule, learning to leverage your team, learning to receive support, learning to ask for help, and not being a micromanaging freak where you're, going after everybody and doing everything. I have a lot of clients that have brick and mortar businesses, and I said, you're just a highly paid $10 an hour person because you're
Oh,
doing
fuck.
everything
I
in your
love that you said
business
that.
instead of
Yes.
actually learning how to, receive the help. And so when I learned to start receiving, which is a very highly feminine trait, I mean, ladies, we are designed to receive, if you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when we learn how to do that, it's not just easy. It's easy for many. They can't even receive compliments. They can't receive, people holding the door open for them. They can't receive someone paying for dinner. I had a girlfriend. I had to keep fighting her all the time to pay for dinner because she didn't want to owe me anything. One of the things about a highly powerful, performing woman is that if you give her help, she'll feel weak and she'll feel vulnerable and
Yeah.
she'll feel like she owes you something.
Yeah.
And this is such a misconception of how we've been designed. We're supposed to be laying down and people feeding us grapes, ladies, and
Mm-hmm.
and doing and telling people what to do, and I think this is the new way. We're not suffering anymore. We're not being in survival mode. And listen, when you're always doing, your adrenal fatigues are like out of control. So this is why women have a hard time sleeping, because their body now is cued to be in survival mode, not
Yeah.
just their mentality. And so this is where the extra, weight comes around your muffin top. And this is fat that's staying there for life because it feels like you're going to die.
Yeah.
And so this is why it's so important that you stop behaving like a man would and start really activating what you came here to do and be in your superpower in that feminine energy. You'll make way more money. Trust me on this.
There's this big fear. Like as you're saying this, there's this great amount of fear. And I'll give myself as a personal example. I know for me, um, had my business for a really, really long time, and it was just like, I'm this is how it's gonna go. This is what it's gonna look like. And constantly busy, not paying attention to systems, not paying attention to myself, what I truly wanted. It was like, this is just the shit that needs to get done. These are the numbers that I need to hit. This is the amount of clients that need to come into the office. Like it was so laser focused on all of these numbers that would literally determine my worth. I didn't even
Exactly.
know that that's what was going on for me, but that truly was what was happening. And it went to shit. It went to shit. And it didn't go to shit like it all fell apart and I lost the business, but it went to shit and holy fuck, I had to really take a look at myself, my team, how I was showing up,
Yeah.
like full on hardcore look. And I had to make certain decisions that I was like fucking literally like tug of war to the next level. And I had to make certain decisions in order for me to truly do what I wanted to do. And it was heartbreaking. And I'm gonna tell you right now, there was a time where I was like, you know what, just light this bitch on fire. Just light it on fire, like for real. Cause it was just like, what are we fucking what are we doing at this point? What are we doing at this point? And I wanted to give up. I felt so defeated and I felt so weak. Felt so weak. And I have to say that what you just shared, sitting in the silence, going back to like, what do I really fucking want? Like, because I can't fucking do this anymore. I can't. I can't. I can't. I'm not doing. I'm not showing up the way I want to show up. My team doesn't really even feel like a team. It just didn't feel right, and it
Yeah.
wasn't until like I got real where it was like, okay, this is scary as hell, and it didn't look like how I imagined or had thought of what I was forcing it to look like. Everything
Yeah,
changed.
your leadership will change when you start activating
Yes.
this because you'll become humanized, in a sense. And
Yes.
and right now the where the world's going, it's craving connection and authenticity.
Yep.
But when you are performing and doing, you're actually not your most authentic self. You're in a programmed reality of what you're trying to get the results, get to do the thing. And here's the thing, most women who can hustle and have success, there'll be a money leak that's showing up on the other side of it, which I'll talk about later in this episode, what'll come from one of their core wounds. So they'll be constantly putting out fires. And so
Mm-hmm.
it'll constantly be high and low, not a consistent way of how they want to run their business. So that's another thing that puts their nervous system in a fight or flight because
Yep.
they never feel safe with the success that they're doing because they can't just trust that the process, which is the feminine, way of doing things, that everything's going to be okay. And everything that looks chaotic, they don't know how to manage because it's like out of the realm of how they see things. I teach that goals are great, but desires trump goals because a desire is connected to an emotional state. It's the hardest thing when I ask women and that come to work with me, and I can ask all of you listening, like, what do you truly desire? Like, if I had a
Yeah.
magic wand right now, and a lot of them would get stumped up, or the first thing they'll say is, I want a beach house. I want a this house. I want to,
Yeah.
they're looking about things that they're acquiring.
Mm-hmm.
They're not talking about the experiences that they want to feel once they have those things. So this is the problem. And this is how we've been conditioned actually.
Yeah.
Nowhere when we were younger, when we were crying, did our parents say, oh, it's okay that you're feeling this emotion? It was more like, go do that faster than your brother.
Yeah.
It's been competition and how great can you perform, how good can you be, but no one ever sat down and said, well, why are you sad? Like, are
Mm-hmm.
you upset? Here's the emotions that you're feeling. We were never taught that because our parents weren't taught that. And now we're coming to a society where this age that we're at and the stage we're at now, these kids are like, we want to feel something, and I feel like that's just forcing us, to kind of mirror back and be like, what are we feeling? But when we're connected to our emotional state, we get to our desires because our desires are part of our soul. They don't make sense. They're like, why do you want to be a New York Times bestselling author? I don't know. Why do you want to make $1 million a month? You don't have to justify it. Just because you desire is all that is needed.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time with women, their goals have to be justified. Well, if I do this, I'll get that. If I get this, I'll get this praise. And it's all rooted in their neurological places from the
Yeah.
masculine thought process of how they think things are supposed to go instead of how they want to feel when things happen. So
Mm-hmm.
this is the huge disconnect. And this will determine whether or not a woman just pumps, keeps going and hustles, gets to the end of next year this time, and then wants to know, well, what the heck changed? She'll still be in the same insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, but
Yeah.
she hasn't changed anything in the way she's shown up. And it's hard, ladies, to work on yourself and to really go deeper. But
Yeah.
you might get like Veronica and get to a place where you have no choice, or you're like me on the yoga mat, where it's like you'll have a moment where you'll get stopped in your tracks, and it's like it is do or die in this moment. Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to burn everything, throw it all away? Or are you going to make a decision on how you want to live? And I hope for many of you that are listening that are in that stressful state, you're making a powerful decision so that you can go on and realize that it doesn't have to be this hard. Suffering is not the way. If it is hard, you're probably doing it wrong. That's it. And
Shamina, go ahead.
one thing is, we've been conditioned that everything has to be hard. We've got to If it's, "Oh, you work so hard, you deserve it." Oh,
Mm-hmm.
and then that philosophy, well, you know what? This is why many of you are working so hard for love, for validation, for
Yep.
friendship.
Yep.
Your friendships are very hard to come by, or they're surface ones where you just get drinks with with these ladies and you're not going deep and you don't have the support, or you're everybody else's rock.
Yep.
You need to be allowed to be able to say, "I deserve this. I would love support." But if you think everything's hard, everything will be hard.
Amen. Teach us. I want you to teach us. So I'm serious. I want you to teach us. So I'm going to give you like a vignette. I'll give you like a little example, and I want you to take her through um, take her through your lessons. So let's say the majority of the women that listen are all high achieving, high level executive women, entrepreneurs, or in the beginning stages of being an entrepreneur, wanting something more. They're struggling in their marriage. They feel like they have to protect their husband's emotions and compromise their success. They are overwhelmed with being a mom, feeling as if they're not good enough because of constantly missing kids events, right?
I
How
got
do you
you.
help her?
I
Let's go.
got you.
Let's
I
go. Take
got
her
you.
through it. Take her
Okay.
through it.
So this is where it gets deep. So if you're multitasking, really do sit down. Okay.
Yeah,
So
sit the fuck down. What are we doing? I told you to sit down in the beginning.
yeah, right. So let me explain to you here. We have three core wounds, and so stay with me. I'm gonna say a lot of things, but I'm
It's
gonna
all going to
try
make
and
sense, damn it. All right.
I'm gonna get you to understand why you're doing what you're doing. First of all, I want to say you're doing the best you could with where you are, with what you know. But now, when you get new knowledge, I want you to implement it and do something different. So, no judgment on self. But
Okay.
I have two highly performing children in competitive sports. I can count on one hand how many times I've missed, and they're in the collegiate stand. My son's in college right now, and but my daughter's a cheerleader. He was a football player, a rugby player. Being a mom to me is being able to be present for my children, and that is my number one thing, is my children. Everything I do is for them, but everybody's different. But for me, after that yoga mat moment, I realized what was important to me and my
Yep.
children, and that was really important to me. So we have three core wounds. We have abandonment, betrayal, and unworthiness. And those three core wounds show up everywhere in our lives. We have lens on how we look through the life, right? And I got my blue light glasses here. I'm going to show you. So we put on the lens, and these lens all have the stories of our past, our experience, how we see the world, um, what's in our subconscious thoughts that are coming out all the time. So when you wake up in the morning, you put on these lens to see the world through this history. From one of these core wounds have created stories, experience, and your perspective on life. It's also determined your values and your money mindset. Your wealth
Mm-hmm.
consciousness is all determined upon this. So if you had in any abandonment, and abandonment doesn't have to be your dad leaving. I've had severe abandonment with my father, but what happens is there could be a time where your mom left you in the aisle in Kmart, and then you had this moment like, oh my gosh, where's mommy? And then that feeling stuck inside of you, and then that kept repeating and compounding over the entire rest of your life because you had that feeling in you, so you were attracting experiences to support that
Mm-hmm.
subconscious emotion inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you feel, and you could have had major abandonment, someone has passed away, you've had a relationship that ended, whatever the case may be, but we all have some level of it, unless we've become so emotionally mastered and we're Buddha and we don't care, right? But we all
Yep.
are going through this experience. Betrayal, a friend has turned on you, someone has done something to mistrust you, to so you mistrust them now. They've broken your trust. They cheated on you, or they said one thing and did another. I mean, it's just this feeling of it's you're not safe anymore comes up. And then there's unworthiness, which I believe was my top core wound for up until not too long ago, a few years ago. It was what drove me, but never feeling good enough, never feeling like I'm enough always drove me. And this is why a lot of women undercharge for their I can go in their business and I can see what they're charging based upon their unworthiness. And I can see
Yep.
how they're serving their clients based upon their unworthiness. I
Mm-hmm.
can see that they're still exchanging time for money based upon their unworthiness.
Yep.
I can see how they hire their teams based upon their unworthiness.
Yeah.
And I can also see how she's enjoying her money and her wealth based upon her unworthiness. So we bring those things into our lives. And what happens is that we don't take care of them, they're going to be running the show. And usually it's our little girl or an a disempowered version of us that's inside of us that is dictating how things are. So when we're constantly working and doing too much and missing our kids' stuff, we're feeding probably an unworthiness wound. If I stop, I'm going to be seen as lazy. One of the
Mhm.
biggest things that I work with some of my clients, especially my mastermind, is like, you need to chill and relax. And I'll get reports back saying, I don't know how to. I feel lazy. This doesn't feel productive. I feel like it, but it is a trauma response to be in that state. So when we can start rewiring it, you can start saying, yeah, you are worthy of some rest time. You are worthy. Everything's going to be okay if you take that time off. Nothing's going to fall apart if you just breathe. But if you don't get to that state, you're going to get to adrenal fatigue and burnout. And then you're going to constantly be worrying, like going in quicksand, right? And
Mhm.
so what happens is a shield gets created too when you've got betrayal. I'm going to protect myself so nobody ever hurts me again. Abandonment. I'm going to protect myself so nobody ever hurts me again. So I call it the armor. And so if you have the armor on, then but no emotions can go out or come in. But when you're there, you're like, okay, I'm protected now. I don't have to feel anything. I'm going to put everything down below. I'm going to be the ice queen. And I'm just going to keep motoring on and performing and doing where I don't want to feel anything because it's going to slow me down. And honestly, ladies, in this world, I was a lawyer going to court. If I showed an ounce of emotion, they would smell the weakness in me, smell
Mhm.
it. And so I had to go in there being over like I had to bring them a Judge Judy energy, because otherwise they would be able to know that they could mess with me and I didn't want that. So we already are subconsciously conditioned to act and be in a certain way that we weren't designed to.
Mhm.
So you go back to being safe with your husband, and when you are in your masculine and masculine energy is this very analytical planning. I have to know everything, when, why, controlling, having family schedules, telling everybody what to do, telling your men what to do, not trusting. It's a need to prove yourself. It's a constant. You think about how a man shows up. It's like a um and we're just better at it, the wounded part of it. We're better at being the wounded man because we actually execute and get things done where men can kind of break things and fix them afterwards. But we are, because y'all don't have that guy in your house, but they're very simple creatures. They just want to feel that they're respected,
Yep.
is that they aren't judged, that their emotions are safe with you. But now let's try this on. If you're in your masculine and your shield is up, they can't feel your emotions. They can't feel you. So what happens is when women are in this wounded masculine state, they are emasculating their men
Mhm.
all the time.
All the
So
time.
if there's a woman who's acting and being in her masculine, which she thinks is important for the success of her life and business, and then she's told now by me or others, hey, that's the exact same reason why you and your husband aren't having a connected relationship. She gets confused. Well, what do I do now? Do I just go have bubble baths and put on pink underwear and do my nails and be feminine? No, this is a deeply rooted thing that's within us in our emotional state. And so when we're constantly in the masculine, we're pushing the men away. We're turning them into beta men. And so that's why you don't want to have sex with him. That's why he's not attractive to you. If you have a man that's doing everything that you're telling him to do and you're a powerful woman, I
Mhm.
guarantee you're looking at some other dude at the gym that's looking
Mhm.
sexy, and you
Mhm.
you're thinking about that one guy you had the great sex with back in the day because
Mhm.
it was so blah blah blah. But that was addiction. That was like not healthy sex. That was probably trauma bonding with them. You can have a healthy relationship with your husband, but this is why I always tell women who come in my world, I'm not responsible. We call them quantum babies. I'm not responsible for all the quantum babies that are made in our group, because when they start implementing what I teach,
Yeah.
they start becoming so attractive to their husbands. Their husbands become, they are having sex everywhere. And it's like, it's beautiful because that's what we want. We want connection with our spouse and our significant other.
Yeah.
So when you are telling your husband what to do, you're taking out his decision making process. You're taking out his problem solving ticker and how he is created. Men are created to solve problems. But if we're constantly trumping them and telling them what to do and telling them how to do it faster and telling them where they went wrong, they just are going to be like, whatever, you just do it yourself.
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
just going to drink beer here and I'm just going to check out. I'm going to hang out with my friends, or I'm going to go find another girl, whatever
Mhm.
it is. I'm not saying that's what you're doing to them, but think about what we talked about, polarity, being able to give and receive, right? And masculine and feminine energy. We are meant to receive. But if we're telling men how to treat us and give to us, we're not even
Yeah.
open to the receiving yet. One thing that I've done with my son that's been super powerful, because I'm a single mom and there wasn't a father figure at home. He did have a dad, but he was always with me. Is I really had to learn, because when you're a single mama, you're chauffeur, cook,
You're everything.
everything. You're
Hmm.
therapist. There's no off button with me. So I had to really work hard at this. But I learned that in order for my son to get to a place where he was safe in his masculine and be his most powerful self, because if a man in his beta, he's not even at his full potential of how he can protect you, provide for you, take care of you, if you're doing all the things that he was designed to do.
Yeah.
So I learned very quickly that I had to invite my son into conversations instead of telling him what to do.
Yep.
I would be like, baby, do you mind, can you help mommy do these three things? And, overload them with a big to do list. Do you mind doing this for me? And he might not have got off his video game in that moment to do it, but by the end of that day, he would have gotten that done. And what it does is gives them the power to go do what they want when they want. And I never criticized him. Well, let me back up. I always corrected if I did criticize him, because I had to
Hmm.
correct myself because I was raised to criticize. That's a
Yeah.
feminine wounding that I got, from the
Yeah.
mother side, which creates a mother wound and sister wound
Yep.
for many of us. So that's what makes relationships hard. But females. So I really had to learn how to allow him to be safe to express his emotions to me. But because my son was able to do that, he's an emotionally mastered man. He's got a girlfriend for 2 years that he takes care of. He's like, I never wanted to pay for anything. The guy, I gave him money over the holidays. He went and put it in stocks. His relationship with how he sees himself as a provider now has skyrocketed because his girlfriend's going to be a teacher. And I said, baby, she ain't going to make that much money being a teacher. I was like, and he is, that's okay. He's like, I'm going to take care of her. And this is like a
Hmm.
18, 19-year-old, you know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
young man
Man.
saying this, that's saying this, and yet there's women who are married to guys that can't even like take the garbage out.
Yeah.
It's like you don't want to be with a guy who's not here to protect and provide for you. And so my daughter, the best part about this is that she's now in a relationship with a guy for a year now, and they're beautiful, and she's so emotionally mastered. I have a podcast episode, you guys, I'll tell you about it later, to go listen to her. But 17 years old, my daughter is emotionally mastered now because she's adopted to be able to be in that feminine to receive.
Yeah.
And she's attracting a guy in who wants to take care of her and provide for her. And listen, we get to be badasses and make millions of dollars and still have guys take care of us, and
Yeah.
tell men take care of us.
Yeah.
We don't have to do everything. You ask any powerful woman, they'll say to you, I wish he would just buy me that black dress, send it to me and say I send a car over, or I planned everything and the trip is all done, and just I got everything booked and meet me here. But ideally, most of you couldn't even let your guard down to receive that. Be like, where are we going? What does the hotel look like? What do I have to pack? I don't know if I need
Hmm.
everything. You might have got everything wrong. And even if he did get everything wrong, you couldn't go
Gives
with
a
it to just
shit.
enjoy
Hmm.
it.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's the problem. Our men would be doing so much more for us if we allow them.
Yes.
And guess what? Money and men show up the exact same way for us in our businesses, because I
Hmm.
believe money is masculine and the way we receive it is feminine. And when we can understand that we are chasing the masculine, we're chasing money, we will stop hustling so hard and everything would change for us.
Hmm. Absolutely.
And this
So,
is how you get your time back to go see your kids. This is
yeah.
how you leverage your team. One thing I want to say is one of the hardest things for a woman who is a high performer, high achiever, powerful woman is she can't receive help. So most of the time when she actually goes to lean on her team, she feels like they're going to leave them. And
Yeah.
so she has this little tiny subconscious abandonment wound, maybe big, that if I rely on this person too much, what if they go away from me?
Yeah.
So this is why a lot of the times they have a high turnover, or they hire people who aren't competent because they know the result will be that they won't be able to do the job, so they'll get rid of them. I had a client over and over again. She's a plastic surgeon, and she had a firm and a clinic, a facility, and repeatedly every time she was having this same person. She's like, they're just stupid that would come in. She had an amazing South African accent, and I can't. I was just was trying to do the accent there, but she was saying that they're incompetent, but really it was her not believing that she could actually be supported by someone else because she had been the breadwinner. She'd taken care of her ailing parents. She'd done everything in her whole entire life
Yeah.
for everybody else that she did not know how to be taken care of or how to
Hmm.
be supported. So it was foreign to her until she started working with me.
Absolutely. For women listening today who feel overwhelmed by their financial goals, what's one practical step they can take right now to shift their mindset immediately
So if you're saying they're overwhelmed with how much money's coming in, or how much money where they're at.
with where they're at.
Okay. So I always say this is not the final destination. If you
Yes.
can just put that out there, like, this is where I am in this moment, doesn't mean this is where I will be tomorrow or the next day. Because when my bank account was on life support, like, I have so many screenshots. I would jokingly take all these screenshots of them because they were like zero, negative. And I remember once when I opened my account, it said 1111, and I was like, ah, and I was celebrating, even though you can see it was like withdrawn in the other ones. But I was like so happy to see the 1111. And then I mean, now I've had millions go through my bank account. I just met with my accountant yesterday. We're having our highest cashier. Woo, woo, woo.
Yay.
And yeah, so but I had to not let my current reality dictate my future reality of what I wanted
Oh,
to
yes.
create. I had to hold the faith that it was coming in. And so, and then also I had to work on the expansiveness of, could I believe that that wealth was coming in for me? So sometimes I have a hard, I'm working right now to $1 million months. That's what we're working towards, foundationally creating next year. So I always look to another woman who's done something, and this is how I know I'm actually in abundance and not in scarcity. Because when we're in scarcity, we're in competition, we're in envy, and we don't
Yep.
celebrate other women. And I believe
Yep.
that when you have that
So
mentality, you
important.
won't be able to grow out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with who
Mm-hmm.
you're being. So when I see another woman with success, I'm like, well, if she can, I can. Like, if
Mm-hmm.
I love, like, I had a conversation with my hair lady. She was telling me she has like 15 or 16 Hermes bags, and she was telling me the whole secret of how to get it. I was sitting there soaking it up. I'm like, she was walking rich. And
Mm-hmm.
old me would have been so jealous and envious of her. So go look where your scarcity mindset is. What things maybe that are triggering you, and start rewiring them and start seeing, why am I thinking this way? Because it's who you're being, like we talked about at the beginning of this call. Don't look at what's in the bank account. How can you become the most wealthiest version of yourself now without the money? Because the money never changed you. People
No.
think that if they get money, then they're going to be rich. If they get
Mm-hmm.
money, then they'll be wealthy. But that's actually a fallacy. This is why people get money and then they can't spend it. And that's the worst kind of broke you can be. Because if you can't spend the money you're making, you're actually in a deeper scarcity than when you didn't have the money. So
Mm-hmm.
start working on who you are right now. And this is something that I love teaching about. And so, who is she? How is she showing up? Upgrade some things. Get rid of those old underwear. Get the extra guac. Put some cash in your wallet. Start feeling like you're a wealthy woman. I started doing this thing 2 months ago, and it's to the end of the year, where every time I go through Starbucks, every single car that I can see behind me, I'm buying their drinks. It makes me feel like a wealthy woman. Maybe you can't do all of that. Maybe you can do once a week. Figure out what you can do. Start extra tipping certain places. And I'll tell you, what does that have to do with my business? Oh, it's going to make you see that your wealthiest version of you is going to show up like this. But when she's
Yeah.
making the million a year, or 2 million a year, or a million a month, she's just going to amplify that even more. So show
Yep.
up as her now, right? That
Yep.
that that's what I started doing when I had no money. I was really struggling. I saw this little clip on Facebook where a guy was going up to a woman in Walmart, and he said, I'm looking for some money to buy a gift for my child or something. And the woman gave him $10, and he was rewarding people. So he's like, I'd like to give you 500. She started crying. She's like, I need this money for my rent. And I just thought it was
Oh.
so remarkable that she
Mm-hmm.
gave 10, even though she didn't have any. But look how she got rewarded. Look how
Yeah.
the universe brought it back to her. So she felt still that she could still give away even though she didn't have anything, because that's the frequency of abundance. When
Yeah.
you're not in the lack, because if you're looking around saying, where's the money? It's not here yet. That's what you're going to attract more of. So what I want you to do is get into the place of, I have more than enough. More and more is coming. So this is a saying that I have in my business. When I went from one-on-one, because I stopped trading time for money, into group programs, and this is how I scaled my business. And for many of you that are listening that are doing an online business, or you're bringing your business online, into the online space for brick and mortar, you can't keep doing that one-on-one exchange. It just won't work, because you're going to tap out
Mm-hmm.
on how many hours you do. So being
Mm-hmm.
able to remove the one-on-one private coaching and going into masterminds and group programs, I have several different ones that I've created. You have an ascension of offers of how you bring people in. You can start from a membership all the way up to a high level mastermind, but you are
Yeah.
then going to serve people at a higher level, one to many. And that way you can scale your business and not work so many hours. So, I went from working like 60 hours a week to working 4 hours a week, really, and still
Mm-hmm.
making a million. So you want to figure out how you're going to scale your business. So when I went from one on one to the group, I had a panic attack, because I was like, I was on the Peloton. I was crying. I was like, oh my gosh, I had 100,000 of reoccurring income coming every month from private clients. And at the time, this is 3 years ago, and I'm like, I'm gonna get rid of it all because I gotta pull the plug because I'm staying comfortable with this one-on-one, because I know the money's coming in and I had a wait list, all these things were happening. But I'm like, if I don't make this move right now, I'm gonna forever be stuck in this state and I will never
Yeah.
scale my business. I'll never get my time back. And I realized I was already tapping out. I was already like being my old programming was coming up. So
Yep.
I said in July, that's it. I closed my books on one, ended all my clients. Of course, my income dropped. It did drop
Mhm.
the next
Yep.
month. But when I was on that Peloton, I had to believe that the money was not always only going to come from the one-on-one. So I just started riding the Peloton saying, more is coming. More is
Mhm.
coming, Shameen. And that's a slogan that I've used all over my business, everywhere. It's on all my merchandise. Borrow it when you feel like not there's not a lot or there's not more there. Remind yourself that more is coming. They're printing money. There's no rule or anything out there saying that you're not going to have more. So if you can get into the possibility that more is coming like I did, well, the following month we had one of our highest cash months that we'd ever had in my business because the program worked. We signed on people that came into my mastermind. They were paying us. It was the most glorious thing, but I had to take the risk to dip, but then to believe that more was coming. So that was my final destination. And I've gone up and up since then, and you will too. So borrow
Mhm.
more is coming from me.
Mhm. What are some of the biggest mistakes women make when trying to grow their business or increase their cash flow?
Well, they don't have a good team. They try to do everything on their
Yes.
own. You are
Yep.
not supposed to be doing all the things in your business. What I would really do is write down all the things that you can't stand doing in your business, even if you can do them
Mhm.
faster than someone else. Start delegating out. And without delegation, my friend Elena Cardone, I watched her within seconds. She's they're billionaires, right? But
Yeah.
billionaires money loves speed, so they love decision making, moving fast. But if you're doing every single little task in your business, how can you move fast? So, and if money loves speed, you need to delegate. But a lot of the times, the scarcity mindset will come up. Well, it's just cheaper if I do it myself.
Yep.
I'm not going to hire somebody. They're not going to do it as good as me. I'm just going to do it myself. But you've got to start trusting that your leadership needs to increase. It's not the person, it's you as a leader. When you start doing this emotional work and really working around your money mindset, your leadership is going to have effective leadership. And then your team is going to respond to you because it
Mhm.
always comes back to us. So hire a team, really vet that team out, be able to get rid of people who are also not performing. Another
Yes.
side thing is even though you might have a team member, you won't get rid of them because they don't like confrontation and they don't want to let go of people. And the abandonment wound comes up. Get rid of people.
Mhm. Yeah.
The dead energy in there. Okay. Because if you're looking to scale, you need to have a strong team. Go lean. I am such a big thing on running a lean business. Really go look through all the money leaks right now in your business. Where are they? Because you could be making a million, or I've had so many women come to me that have made $100,000 a month, and then they're like, I have nothing to show for it afterwards. I don't know where all the money went. Like I made 100 and there's nothing left. So I would go in and look at all of your expenses and what are they and are they actually serving you? I do an audit of my business and my personal life all the time. Like yesterday, I just got rid of my Peloton. I put it on pause because I haven't been on it months, but I'm paying
Yep.
$49 a month for it. So I always look for where the money leaks are because they're going out consciously and subconsciously. So that's really, really important when you're learning to scale. Also, what kind of quality of life do you want? I have a friend that makes $20 million a year. He takes home about five, but he has a team of 20. It's a lot of
Mhm.
work to do it. Then I've got another friend that makes, I think 3 to 5 million a year, 3 to 4 million a year. He's got one team member, which is his daughter, and maybe someone else he hires. And he does everything really lean in his business. So decide, is it that you want a big team to say you have this huge team and this big business, or are you okay with being not so like flashy and having more money and taking home more profit? Because this guy that makes 3 to 4 million, he's taking home 80%. Like that's my business. I'm taking home 80-90% of my money as opposed to it all going to a huge team. I have a
Mhm.
small team, a lean business, and we run it effectively. So I have these State Farm agency owners that I mentor too, and a couple of the problems that they have is that they keep hiring more employees to
Yep.
vet the
Mhm.
policies. I'm like, you shift who you are. You're going to attract people who pay in full. Don't keep
Yep.
hiring people to chase the money. So if you've got
Mhm.
clients that aren't paying on time, get rid of them. Get rid of these people because their money leaks too. Because every time you have to get an employee to pick up the phone or send a letter or to go collect whatever, it's a
Yep.
problem.
That's right.
Start getting people to pay in full too. That's a huge thing if you want to scale. Um, And then decide, what do you want to do in your business? How do you want to show up? Like some people still want to talk to clients. Some people don't want to talk to clients. Like
Yeah.
what would make you feel great? Like for me, I still talk to my clients. I have 3 programs that I still meet clients, 3 times a week with different group programs, but that's it. I want to go on podcasts. I want to, promote the book. I
Yeah.
want to make content. I want, my thing is to be a household name. I want to, there's so many big things that I want to do, but if I'm tied to my business, I can't make that big impact that I want to out there. So decide what do you want and go do
Hmm.
it.
What is one piece of um what it was? Yeah, what is one piece of advice you would give women right now to do immediately?
Immediately, I would really have a sit down talk with yourself and just really get honest with yourself because if you don't know where you are right now, you don't know where you're going to go.
Hmm.
So I would first take sit down like how do you like the way your business is running? Do
Yeah.
you like how your relationships are looking? Do you like how your body looks? Are you looking to balance your hormones? Are you looking like what is it that you want? What do you want more of in your life? And what one more what do you want to let go of more of in your life? Like you need
Yeah.
to take stock of where you are. And then I love New Year's because I literally I look at what I created in this last year and what I did in this one year, people would do in 10 years. And I still
Hmm.
didn't wake up at 5 AM to do it. I still had
Yeah.
lots of days off. I went to Europe for 3 weeks with my kids, flying first class, hiring a driver, getting a yacht in the
Wow.
Amalfi Coast. Like, what do you want? Design the life because you have to have the vision first. If you don't have the vision first, then you can't create from it. So sit down, really sit down. Maybe if you're a wine drinker, this is where I would say grab a little glass of wine, get a candle, put everybody out and sit down. What what truly would make you feel like this is the way life should be?
Hmm.
Then next, find out why you're not doing it. What is getting in the way of you actually getting the results that you want? You write down because usually the things that you think that are not um, getting you to the next level really aren't. They're just beliefs that are actually pumping the brakes and stopping you from what you want because you
Yep.
think it has to be hard or you think it's unattainable. Like I thought I couldn't get an Hermes bag because everybody said it was hard. But now that I heard from my hair lady, I know exactly what to do. I'm just, I'm
Hmm.
kidding around, but it's like you just don't know what's available to you because you just can't see it yet because you don't have those
Yeah.
lens or that clarity, that lens off and that clarity to see what's there in front of you. So um, then I would start first doing the emotional work. I really would. I would really get go grab my book. That's one thing. I go get the
Yeah.
book. We'll talk about later, but unlocking the quantum woman because that'll help you. But really start learning to understand your emotions. A lot of us women, we have 2 emotions. We have happiness and sadness or anger. And when you are having a closed heart and you haven't processed your emotions yet, you're usually pretty much like an angry person. You get hot headed a lot. That's
Yeah.
the way I was. So I always say, let's start getting the anger out so we can get the emotion below. Go find the emotional wheel online. Start using I feel as opposed to I think. Start trying to tap into that feminine that's inside of you. I mean, slow down. Pick a day where you like when I ran my business, I was seeing clients every day. And then I went down to 2 days a week. And then I was like, I have to change things. You can't be serving every single day your clients. There has to be a day on work on your business. There's to be days that you work on yourself. Stop negotiating the gym. Maybe you don't start seeing clients till 12. This is me. Because you're going to go to the gym, you're going to do your morning routine, you're going to feed yourself first, then you're going to
Yeah.
go to your business because you've got a great team running it in the beginning, or vice versa, whatever you want to do. But make sure you start carving out time for you every single day because the saying is true, if you don't pour into that cup you can't pour into others.
Bingo.
So the next thing I would do is write down all of your money mindset things. What do you really believe about money? Believe it or not, I have women who make $1 million that still think rich people are bad. I mean, I know
Wow.
it's crazy, or
Yeah.
that they can waste their money, or that they have to have a justifiable reason why they want to get a pair of red bottom shoes, and they make
Hmm.
$1 million because it doesn't seem like it's a good investment. They'll go buy a
Yeah.
Porsche, but they won't buy the shoes. But she
Hmm.
really wants the shoes. When you don't feed a desire, you're actually blocking the flow of wealth. So write
Hmm.
down what all your money things are, and then I would go energetic shopping. What if you had all the money in the world? What would you buy and what would you do? Because money has to have a place to go, ladies. We can't just say we want $1 million because if you say I want $1 million and you don't have where the money's going to go, well,
Yeah.
money's going to come to me because I know where the money's going to go. And so, like when I wanted my G-Wagon, I put it on my phone and guess what? It's in my garage now.
Hmm.
I wanted to be to for a yacht, be on a yacht and fly private. Well, that happened all this summer because it was on my phone. You
Yep.
know, I create the vision and then I go execute it in the energy
Yep.
of the beingness of it happening.
I
And
love it.
and you got to do daily money work and intentional work on yourself every day, even if it's 10 to 15 minutes. Journaling changed my life. I teach a journaling program too, but and being in a community with women who also believe what you believe or want to expand with you, you will quantum leap so much faster. You won't have to spend the next 4 years to get somewhere you
Yep.
can do in 4 months. So get into a community, where you're thriving and growing with others. That was a game changer for me. Mentorship changed helped me change things.
Where can our audience connect with you on social media and your
Yeah.
website?
All right. I know that was a lot, right? Whew. Okay. So I want you guys to come find me at Shamina Taylor on Instagram. Go connect with me there. And you can join my Quantum Woman group on Facebook. It's a
Yes.
great community of women in this group. I'm telling you, the powerful woman it's actually an engaged Facebook group. It's not just a group that you join. There's everybody's in there. And go check out my podcast called Unapologetically Rich. You will binge this podcast and you'll be like, she sees me. Everybody thinks I'm their bestie, that they're talking to me. You will, if you related to an ounce of this, you will relate to the entire podcast. Then go get this book,
Yes.
Unlocking the Quantum Woman. It is a book that's going to actually change your life. We've got, I think, 218 5-star reviews on
Yay.
Amazon. It's killing it. And it's been on the number one for women in business for over a year now on the bestseller. Go to my YouTube and to pick and choose whatever video that's in there. But sometimes there's a consciousness to what I'm telling you, and it's going to expand you. Just by listening to this episode, your consciousness is shifting, and just stay on it. Don't listen to this and not do something. Go listen to this and implement. And then I don't know if this is okay to share, but you can come check out one of our programs. I want to be respectful to Veronica. I don't know what she offers, but if there's something that resonates with you, send me a message and maybe you can
No,
come
yes,
work with
please.
us on one of our high level programs if you want to get there faster. That's
Absolutely.
it.
Listen, we're not in competition, mama.
No,
We're
but
all
I'm always respectful
supporting one
of
another.
yeah, but I'm
No, I get
respectful
that.
because I had a woman come on my podcast and she was pitching everything from the beginning. I was like, well, what's going on here? I'm like, oh, we're done. I'm like, you didn't actually provide any value. Just keep telling me about your membership and whatever. I was like, you got to go.
You're
I'm
out.
like, because
You're out.
yeah, but I respect because I live in abundance and I don't have to
Yeah.
do that. So, but I do
Mm-hmm.
know what I teach works and I've cracked the code, man. I understand us and I want all women to be rich. I want all women to be wealthy. I want all women to have the most amazing sex and have a happy life and live the way they want. We all should be living like that and not in survival mode, not stressed, not suffering. I just want us to be happy and just and be great mothers and get the best out of life.
Shamina, thank you so much for coming on. I knew this episode was going to be fire. And girl, I'm going to tell you right now, you did not disappoint. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Veronica.
Absolutely.
Ah,
Yay!
oh my
Finally,
gosh.
this shit recorded.
Yes.
Done.
What did you
Yay!
think?
Girl, it was good. It was
Yeah.
so good. Oh, hell yeah. I love it. I
Okay.
love your energy. I love that you're no bullshit. I love that it's straight